Welcome to the Orc and Goblin Tribes review. I did do this review months ago, but it was really more of a first impressions. I'm going to go back around and do all of the reviews again, this time with some experience and a little bit more knowledge under my belt about these factions. So let's talk about Orcs and Goblins. It's a good time to do it because Arcane Journal is coming out real soon. In fact, I'll probably reference some of that in this video as well because I'll put this out after the fact. Anyway, so first thing we're going to do, excuse me, is cough. And we're going to go over the special rules of the army, and then we'll go back to the beginning and talk about everything about how the army plays. So we're going to start off with the Biggins special rule. It's an upgrade for orc mobs, your basic orc boys. Usually to a 2 points a model, but the cavalry can also do it. Getting +1 strength and armor bane on your models. It's not a bad upgrade. It is a little expensive, but we'll talk more about that when we get to the actual orc mobs. Choppa's rule is one of the best special weapon rules in the actual game. So during a turn in which it charged, a model with this special rule may reroll wound rolls of 1 and improves armor piercing of the weapon by 1. A lot of armies have a rule like this. I think most of them do, where it only affects hand weapons and it has some effect one way or another. Like high elves is reroll 1s to hit, dark elves is reroll 1s to wound, chaos get all AP 1 and magical attacks across the board, stuff like that. Obsidian Blades for Lizardman, AP 1. This one only works on the charge for AP 1 and reroll 1s to wound, which is awesome. But it works for every weapon. More importantly, great weapon. So the Choppa's rule is probably one of my favorite, and I think arguably one of the strongest special weapon rules in the game. I love the Choppa's rule. You do charge a lot more in this edition. Air quotes charge. Pursuing units, cutting as charges. So yeah, Choppa's rule is freaking fantastic. We got the boy special rule. We'll talk about that more when we get to Black Orcs and stuff. And then Goblin Sphere, Elves, and we ignore Goblin Panic for a lot of things. But really, the main special rules you're going to look at for Orcs and Goblins is the Choppa's special rule. We have Quill and Pictuosity. It's more of a Black Orc thing. We'll get to that when we talk about Black Orcs. Tuskor Charge. The mounts of an Orc army typically are going to be Strength 4, AP 1 in the charge, which is a cool bonus. I'll gladly take it. And then the Wa special ability that an extra thing this army gets that other armies don't get. So bosses, orc bosses. Oh, I wonder if goblin bosses can do that too. We'll check goblin bosses in a second. But you do leadership check and then you get a little bonus. It's a reroll hit rolls of 1 and +1 combat results. So if you use your once per game Wa for your boss, get that charge off with Choppas. Rerolling hit a 1, wound of 1. This game doesn't have a lot of rerolls. Rerolls are actually very, very few and far between. The fact that orcs have 2 right off the hop like this is kind of awesome, even though I regularly forget to use my Wa. And then the War Painted for Savage orcs. They have 2 basic lores. I love their magic. So we got Brain Bursta and Gaze of Gork for orc shamans. A single enemy model. So we have a Assailment for Brain Bursta, Strength 6, D3 wounds, no armor, no regeneration. Ward is allowed. I don't like assailments. I almost never ever take them. So maybe I'm not a good person to get information on assailments from. I just don't think they're actually any good. Now there's some outliers like illusion magic. There's some combos you can do, but as a whole, a general rule, I'm not a big fan of assailments. So this is a good one. This was not a bad one for a challenge. But as a whole, no, I don't really. Not a big fan of any of the assailments. Gaze of Gork, draw a straight line 5d6 in length. Every model fighter full through strength 5, AP 3 hit. Now that one's not bad. What's your average range on that? 714, 21 is your average range on that? That's actually pretty good. Strength 5, AP 3, that's a damn good spell. And then the better ones, in my opinion, are for the goblins. The goblins take the lore of Mork. So we have a Hex. While remains, reroll armor stays a 6+. Not really my thing. I know some people like spells like that, but Itchy Noose is still one of my favorite spells in the game. Lower a target's toughness by D3 and their initiative by D3 to a minimum of 1. 15-inch range Hex, 9 to cast. Lowering somebody's toughness by D3, like you're struggling with a dragon, make it only toughness 3 with this spell. That dragon's going down. So yeah, Itchy Noose is a fantastic spell. As far as lores go, I love the lore of Gork, lore of Mork, and the lore of the lore of the Wa lore, I think it's better called. Only orcs can take it. Every lore in the core rulebook has had its time as my favorite lore. Every last one of them. Currently high sitting at my favorite, but I just realized at this moment I'm gonna review the lores of Magic and talk about them all over again. All right, let's go back to the very top and talk about the army composition. You know what? There's a lot in this book. I should edit this part out, but I'm not going to. We do everything raw. Orc and Goblin tribes. Okay, 50% army characters. Typical stuff. We got Black Orc war bosses and weird knobs. 1 per 1,000. Typical stuff there. Nothing outside the norm in their army composition that we really need to take note. Well, I guess there is one thing outside the norm. You must bring, for every goblin unit, you have to bring a. I'm going to rephrase that. I'm going to say it horribly. A lot of these goblin units, night goblin units in particular, must bring a night goblin character. So if you want to bring a goblin mob, you have to bring a night goblin chief or shaman. Now, there's a number of units like that, like the Mangler Squig is 1 per night goblin chief. But you don't need 1 for every one of these. So basically, if you bring 1 night goblin character, that unlocks 1 night goblin mob, and it unlocks 1 Mangler Squig, and it unlocks 1, what are they called? Squig hoppers. And it unlocks 1, what do they call this? The squig herds. So you gotta bring a couple of characters. It kind of makes sense. My first reading of this, I can't remember what I said in my first review. But my opinion of that now is cool. I like it. It's narrative, it's fluffy, but you also really want these characters. I'm happy to bring these characters, and I don't feel like that's a tax it's a bit of a tax, but it's not a tax in any way, shape, or form. I'm currently worried about with the Orcs and Goblins. I kind of really dig it. Allies, we have Warriors of Chaos and Beastmen that are uneasy, and then Tomb Kings that are suspicious. Basically, you're not going to bring a whole lot of allies going to play Orcs and Goblins. Your whole book is allying with something else. Goblins and Night Goblins and Orcs and Savage Orcs. And yeah, it's just a big hodgepodge of stuff anyway. All right, let's talk about Black Orcs. I don't know if I'll go over every little thing in this book. I don't think it's necessary anymore. Black Orcs are a cut above other orcs. I love these models. We're talking 135 points for character, weapon skill 7, strength toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 6, 4 attacks, and leadership 9. Now, this army has a ton of magic weapons. Arcane Journal's coming out, a ton more magic weapons. But with the Tropas rule, which this guy does have, by a great weapon, your strength 7, your AP 2, armor bane, and then you are AP 3 on the charge, rerolling 1s to wound. Just the great weapon is all you need for this guy. And to be fair, most orcs and goblin characters. This guy's a steal at 135 points. Only leadership 9, but that's reasonable. Furious Charge, get up to 5 attacks. And then we have Quell Impetuosity. So the orcs and goblins across the board, everything's impetuous. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the impetuous rule, the start of your charge phase, you have to, start of your turn, basically start of charge phase. I can't remember exactly when, it doesn't really matter. But you have to roll a die. At a 4+, your unit can act normally. On a 1, 2, or 3, that unit must declare charges. You're going to see that on everything except for Night Goblins and Black Orcs for the most part. Giants don't have it either. But all of your common orcs, savage orcs, common goblins are going to have impetuous. So a Black Orc unit or even character like this any units within 6 inches of these Black Orc characters or Black Orc units, they quell the impetuousness. So stay close to a Black Orc and you're fine. So I found that wasn't a big deal. I think the Quell Impetuosity special rule that is on the Black Orc characters and the units really help you control your army. I've played orcs for years. I've lost so many games because the old rule used to be called Animosity. Now it's just impetuous across the board. This really gives you control, almost to the point where it's not a big deal. You never really fail tests you don't want to fail, as long as you bring the appropriate amount of Black Orcs. They do have the boy special rule, so to bring a Black Orc character, you must bring a Black Orc unit, boy unit, and vice versa. So there is a bit of a tax there, but again, it's a tax you don't feel upset about paying because both the Black Orc characters and the Black Orcs themselves, just awesome units. So not upset about that at all. I want to bring more. In fact, I have 2 units of 15, and I need to buy more. I want to buy more. I should say I want to. I guess I don't need nothing, but yeah, Black Orc characters are the mainstay. There are some really nasty combos. So orcs and goblins don't have access to a dragon. Dragons are big and beefy this edition. If you have a dragon in your army, you're going to do fine competitively. Orcs don't have a dragon. They do have a wyvern, which we'll look at in a bit. And a Black Orc on a wyvern isn't as like hardcore as like a chaos lord on a dragon, but I think these guys can hold their own, especially with some new magic items coming out shortly. So yeah, I think there's definitely gonna be a place in most of my lists for a black orc. Let me rephrase that. It's by default general black orc big boss, or sorry, war boss, and then we can have one as a BSB. Typical stuff. Orc war bosses, just regular orc bosses. Cheaper than a black orc, less leadership, less initiative, less weapon skill, and they have impetuous and don't turn off impetuous. Now they do come with warband, which is a fantastic rule. We'll talk about that when we talk about orcs. But no, I don't really ever, unless I'm building a theme or a narrative, I don't ever bring orc bosses at all anymore, which is a little sad. It's a little sad. Let me know in the comments below if you find a way to make your war not make your war boss work, because you can definitely do that. But give me a reason ever to bring a war boss over a black war boss. I don't think there is one, but I'm very open to any other ideas. But I'm fairly confident here. Like the black orc war boss is going to be worth the extra points all day, every day. But narratively, they have their purpose. The shaman. So we got shaman, however you want to pronounce it, that are toughness 5 on foot or on a boar. Toughness 5 is awesome. Most monsters in the game are only toughness 5. No, a lot of the big ones you see on the table a lot are toughness 6, but toughness 5 is huge for your wizard. Can't complain about this guy. Lore of Gork comes with the warband. Now, if the character joins a unit of orcs of 10 or more models, a +1 to the casting modifier. The problem with that is, cool rule, I never, ever, ever put my orc, or sorry, I'm going to phrase that. I never, ever, ever put my wizards inside of units anymore. So I think that rule is a little wasted, but having a toughness 5 wizard, not complaining. I think they got the, I was going to say short end of the stick, but that's the exact opposite. They got the long end of the stick. Is that a phrase? Can I say they got the long end of a stick? No, orc wizards are dang good. Goblin bosses, okay, they don't have Wa. That makes sense. They can't call the Wa. So cheap, cheap, cheap characters. You pay 60 points to get 4 strength, 4 attacks for a goblin Thoman unit. What's a great weapon cost this guy? 4 points. 64 points, 4 strength, 6 attacks added to a goblin unit. It's not nothing. It's actually well worth the points all day long. They're only leadership 7 as a, I was going to say lord level character. So if this is your first edition, previous editions, characters are divided up into lord level and hero level. It's like the what you see the Goblin War Boss, what we call a Lord level. So if you ever see me say Lord level character again, what I mean is it's the highest level of that version. So a big boss would be a hero level, the War Boss would be a Lord level, but that's just more to understand the talking about these things from previous editions. So yeah, 64 points to add 4 strength 7, sorry, strength 6 attacks to a unit all day long for your goblins. That unit is going to have probably, I think goblins have horde. Either way, +2 ranks with the war band special rule. This guy goes leadership 9, no problem. Probably even leadership 10 if you have the horde rule in the unit you're joining. I'm damn near positive goblins have horde. Yeah, goblin. I don't use goblin bosses enough, but they don't have that many. When the pre-order comes back around, well, I already ordered a bunch, so I'm gonna bring character spam again. But like nothing special, just great weapons and light armor, or maybe even no light armor, and 65 points and 2 toughness 4 attacks. We've seen plenty of games where Luca and I, for example, try to kill each other's champions and just whiff and whiff and whiff and whiff. So. Goblin Shamans, cheaper versions of the wizards, only toughness 4, but whatever. This is where you get your itchy nuisance, so these guys are kind of awesome for me. Well, yeah, I know, just your typical wizard. They fear elves, but who cares? If you get access to Elemental and Wa, which is two good lores. Goblin Shaman's the thing to talk about there. They are aces. Wizards, I'm loving, and I'm loving Orc Wizards just as much as everybody else, right? Well, the Orc ones in particular over the Goblin ones for the toughness 5. Night Goblin bosses, everything I said about Goblin bosses apply to Night Goblin bosses. I use these things quite often. In fact, there's a mount you can buy for Night Goblin boss, the Great Cave Squig. The thing is kind of awesome. If I'm playing a Night Goblin thing, he's a mainstay. But let's go talk about that. Let's go look at that. I think he's right here. Yeah. So for 25 points, you can add +1 wound. Who cares? You have random move 3d6. And 3 more strength 5 killing blow attacks, which is awesome for 25 points. That alone is a steal. I only have one, or else I'd bring more. Um, this random move thing, the way random move works in this edition, this guy's fantastic at getting things that you know are gonna flee from a charge. So you don't declare charges at things that are gonna flee. You let your great cave squig goblin boss go hunt them down, and you're not a lot of points. You can spend points with magic items. Wall of his one hit wonder is a good one to bring with this, but you can do nothing but a spear and let the great cave squig do all the work. I think this guy is. I want to say auto include, but I don't think you're going to hear me say the phrase auto include a lot in this book. Now, when I talk about armies and reviews, I typically use the phrase auto include a lot, which means it's the best thing in the book. The thing with the Orc and Goblin book, I think they're damn good, and there's so many options and ways of playing them that there is no auto include because it depends on the way you're going to build your list, the way you're going to play Orcs and Goblins. I think that's one of the things Orcs and Goblins, the Orc and Goblin tribes have over other armies is they can play more play styles than the average. Now, a lot of armies can play multiple play styles, but orcs can do want to do well. I guess they can't do pure cav until the Arcane Journal comes out. Then they're gonna be able to do pure cav, but they can do infantry lists, war machine lists, magic spam lists, monster lists, various more types of more ways of playing than other armies. In fact, like Empire to me is like the jack of all trades army, but I find orcs and goblins do jack of all trades better than Empire, which is one of the reasons why I think Orcs and Goblins are going to be Beastmen might be my favorite. Orcs and Goblins keep vying for my favorite army currently in this edition. But to be absolutely fair, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Every army rotates into my favorite every now and then. I'm loving every army this edition, which is kind of cool because it's not. This is the first time I could ever say that. In previous editions, and actually every game I've ever played, there's always one or two factions that I feel are overpowered, need to be toned down, and more importantly, those are less of an issue more often than not. It's the underpowered factions, and orcs and goblins have been that before, and they're definitely not that now. And I don't really feel like there is one currently. But that's here and there. We're talking about orcs and goblins today. Night goblin shamans, same deal. Nothing to talk about there. Everything we said about shamans applies to the night goblin shamans. Character mounts. Nothing to talk about there. We'll talk about the character mounts in particular when we get to them. Like the monsters that are important. Well, we have the giant spider, which I finally got one based up for my army. There's a combo with the giant spider that's gonna be pretty good in the arcane journal. Dang, maybe I should have just made this review with the this is just about to become a review with the arcane journal attached. So there's a magic item that turns off impetuousness that I'm going to put on a goblin character on a giant spider. I'm going to have him join a big unit of spider riders, and there's a banner in the Arcane Journal as well that gives them better poison. So they're going to run around and do poison 5+ bow shots without impetuous, and then charge in when and where they need to. I think is going to be a good mainstay unit. Just using a couple of new magic items can change the way a few of these units really work in this game, which is I think an awesome thing. Black Orc Mobs, the best thing in this book. 12 points of model, strength toughness 4, initiative 3, leadership 8, full plate armor. You can buy a shield and have a 3-up armor, strength 4 attack with furious charge, and AP 1, reroll 1 to wound on the charge. Or you can buy additional hand weapon, have even more attacks. Or probably the best way. So I think offense actually trumps defense this edition. In every previous edition, I'd rather have defense. This edition, I want offense. So I think the best way, great weapon, and then go in and crump and reroll 1s to wound and get that AP 3 on the charge. 4 armor save is damn good on these toughness 4 models, and that's going to cost you what? 14 points a model? Can't complain. You can buy stubborn for 1 point a model, and you can buy veterans for 1 point a model. Both of those upgrades can and often are worth it. They do have the Motley Crew special rule. It's a rule I don't like. It allows you to mix your weapons and squads. It's a very powerful rule, but it is not. I just don't like the way it plays. I don't like it in the game, so I'll never do it. But it allows you to mix weapons and units. So the most efficient way of running these black orcs is like half shields, half great weapons, And what's the percentage? Three shields. Yeah, so it's 6 wide, 3 shields, 3 great weapons. You have that in 3 up save and a bunch of, and they take damage first and die, and a bunch of great weapons. I know people talk about that quite a lot. I actually just prefer to take more great weapons. For when my opponent whiffs, I'm gonna have even more great weapon attacks. But the amount of options the unit has is just a solid unit. It's probably the most powerful unit in the game. Like unit, not not thing. Orc mobs, 5 points. And all the upgrades are in here. So if you've played orcs in previous editions, we have Savage Orcs, Armor Boys. All the orcs are right here, just made with this. 5 points to start. Thrusting spears are awesome. I don't think I would ever take throwing spears. No, I shouldn't say that. I haven't tried throwing spears enough. I don't think I like it. Even though I just said offense is better than defense. The amount of attacks you get in ongoing combats, even though I earlier in the video I did say you are going to charge a lot, you are going to get stuck in prolonged combat a lot too. So probably better with thrusting spears. I'm going to play a game with throwing spears coming up. Watch that video. I don't know when I'll do it, but I can almost guarantee the post game I'll say I have all these throwing spears, but they should have been thrusting spears. For context, throwing spears you fight in 2 ranks when you charge. Thrusting spears you fight in 2 ranks when you don't charge. Shields for 1 point, not bad on a toughness 4 or 5 of armor save unit. Or an additional hand weapon. Biggins for 2 points a model. Can make them savage orcs by giving them frenzy, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing for infantry. So how many points would they're 5 points base? 7 points would make them biggins. 8 points would give them frenzy, and then I could give them war paint after that. Where's war paint listed here? Another 1 point. 9 points a model to have 3 strength 4 attacks with armor bane. That's not terrible. Maybe I'll try a unit of. I haven't used my savage orcs or a unit that no longer exists, but you can replicate them with the orc mob here. I haven't tried that yet, but I do think just orc boys with spears are a solid unit. The warband rule is so freaking good. These things will regularly be leadership 8 or 9 with just their boss, just their champion. If their champion dies, they're still leadership 8 because the warband rule often. And then the best part of warband rule is like you reroll your charges. You can reroll your charges. It's just awesome. It's awesome in an army that wants to get stuck in. So I think orc mobs, no complaint whatsoever. Oh, there is a downside. They're on 30 millimeter bases. The smaller your bases, the better you huddle down and support each other. The bigger your bases and your units, the more you get spread apart and less. It makes your counter charges into people's flanks a little bit longer, a little bit more unwieldy. But they got their 30 mil bases, whatever. They've been on 25 mil bases for decades actually. But now they're on 30 mil. One thing I wished is they stayed on 25 mil. I'm upset they're on 30 mil, but that's my only gripe with the orc mob. Goblin mobs, 3 points a model. A little bit more expensive than I would have expected for a basic unit like this. Leadership 5/6 on the champion. Thrusting spears for a point. Replace a shield. They come with shields. You can take short bows for a point. But they have impetuous. Oh, I'm gonna go back 1 second because it doesn't matter here. I'm gonna go back here for a sec. Right. Yeah, I don't know if my cursor. Yeah, my cursor's popping up on the screen. Where is it? Don't overlook. There's a rule here which is very easy to miss. Where am I finding it? Oh, it's right here. 1 unit army can be skirmishers for free. That is so good. A unit of even just 10 biggins with additional hand weapons with skirmisher is so good. Like I don't want to get into all the nuances of skirmisher. I have to make a whole video on it. It's a very complex and layered set of rules for this edition, but skirmish is so freaking good. I would always, if I'm playing competitively, I'm probably always going to bring a unit of uh orc skirmishers, whether they're armor boys, just give them bows, or actually just send them into combat with additional choppas. If they can take great weapons, amazing. But yeah, I would buy 2 choppers and skirmish them quite often. I think it's gonna be a fantastic way of playing these guys. And then we go over here, and goblin mobs can do it as well. I believe it is 1 per 1,000 points. I think there is value to taking goblin mobs with short bows and skirmish to protect your lines, but you need a black orc character or unit nearby, so they'll end up charging when they're not supposed to. Which how much you feel your deployment zone this edition isn't necessarily an easy thing to do. You want your black orcs in the fray, not in the back babysitting goblin mobs. So the goblin mobs don't do the skirmish thing as well as the orcs can do because you want your orcs in combat, even the skirmish ones. Yeah, my goblin mobs are my goblin mob has a shield and spears. Makes them what, like if you buy you come with a shield, so you don't buy light armor, so you're at 4 points. It's 5 points a model for a goblin with a spear and shield. That's just you're almost paying orc boy prices. I think keep these things dirt cheap. They're awesome models and they're coming back around, so I'm gonna buy a bunch of these. I'm gonna do. I think they're gonna be best with hand weapons. I don't think you need goblins ever. Sorry, rephrase that. The common goblin, the goblin mob right here, is not something you need. Everything you want them to do, night goblins do better, other than skirmish. But then you need something to babysit them. Now there's the magic item we talked about in the arcane journal that can turn off their impetuous, but I don't want to put that item on this unit. There are better combos to use. That one I've already talked about. It's with the spider riders. Another one is, well, we'll get to that. It's a be an awesome combo. Yeah, goblins. I don't think you really need them. However, you get nasty skulkers. You can throw them in the list. 10 points a model for nasty skulkers. I'm not going to go over it all. I think it's too expensive to make a unit that's already too expensive. Not the unit itself isn't expensive, the goblins, but too expensive for what they do in the list. And then nasty skulkers just make them more expensive. They look cool. I don't think they have a place. Snotling mobs. I'm going to order the hell out of these. The movement 5, strength toughness 2, 6 wounds and 5 attacks. Who cares? Leadership 4. Who cares? 35 point. Wait, did I? Oh yeah, there. It's right. 35 point swarms. You're gonna spend 70 points on them. They're move 5. They skirmish. They're gonna have 12 wounds. But they're impetuous. Loner, open order, skirmishers, unbreakable, and vanguard. Basically, you send them on forward and to block things, and you declare charges at things that can't do 12 wounds in a turn. Like most units are going to be able to, even though most things are wound them on 2s or 3s, and they have no save to speak of, it's still 6 wounds to get through. It's not nothing. I think Snotling mobs might be too good. Well, all the swarms. I think swarms are fantastic this edition. The only thing making these things not OP for 35 points is the fact that they're impetuous. If they weren't impetuous, these things would probably be a little OP. Just because they're really good at blocking up your opponent and holding up your opponent. Like you can charge a big old block of volleying 35 Tomb King archers in a block, which is I think a fantastic block. Send these guys in to engage them, and that block is never going to kill these Snotlings. Now that's a good matchup for these Snotlings, but even a good fighting unit, let's say Sword Masters, 7 attacks. I'm not a big fan of these things anyway. So let's say they're 7 wide, and you have 8 attacks in the front rank. They're hitting on 2s. I'm gonna say we'll round up and say 7 hit, and they're wounding on 2s. They killed 1 base. They're held up for a turn, and they gotta do it again. And that's being generous to the sword masters. Anything else is gonna take forever to kill these Snotlings. Well, not forever, but longer than anything wants to. But they're impetuous, so there's that. I'm still gonna buy a bunch. Night Goblin mobs I think are fantastic. They're goblins that aren't impetuous. They do have lower leadership, but they have the warband rule. Do they have Horde? They have Horde. So they can get up to leadership 8 just by themselves. Plus 1 leadership per rank up to 3 for the Horde. Spears or short bows, both fantastic options. The big thing here is Fanatics. Kind of nanners this edition. We'll talk about them in a second, but when we talk about Night Goblin mobs, they do everything goblins, cheap throwaway infantry you want them to do. They do all that. But they also have other uses, which we'll get to, which is Fanatics. But they also buy netters. which are what? I think there's 20 points on it. When you engage a unit on a 2+, you make them -1 strength, and you roll a 1, you make yourself -1 strength. You don't care about doing damage. This squad is, even without fanatics, which we haven't talked about yet, really, really efficient for their points. I would take thrusting spears because I have them modeled that way, but if you want to really min max your list, you just take hand weapons. And I'd buy netters probably, and 3 fanatics. But yeah, no, like these things are dirt cheap for what they do. But they come with fanatics. You buy up to 3 fanatics per night goblin unit you have. They're little whirling balls of death. You have way more control of your fanatics you do in this edition than any previous edition. In fact, there's a lot of buzz on the internet that fanatics might need to be nerfed. I'm not too sure. Maybe they have to. I gotta be unbiased. My army, so much say they gotta be nerfed. There were tactics in the past where your opponent can draw out your fanatics and make you release them too early. That's kind of gone. You control when you're gonna release your fanatics. So you place your fanatics in the command phase, within 3 inches of your unit, and then you send them off in the compulsory movement phase. Which means your opponent gets too close to your lines. Like you can use these very defensively. Stay back with a big War Machine army list and have night goblins with short bows, just like pinking away things that get too close. And if you know your opponent's about to charge at the start of their turn, their command phase, you release your fanatics, and now they have to charge through them, move through them, deal with them. Like you have too much control. One change. We shouldn't talk about changes. This is a review. Fanatics right now in their current iteration, damn good. Buy them. Squig herds, fun. Are they powerful? They're fun. Okay, two strength 5 attacks per model at AP1, but they're 10 points a model. This squad, you can get better killing potential per point with other things, but they fit the Night Goblin theme. Don't go out of your way to buy these, though. Age of Sigmar does have some really nice Night Squig herd models that you can use for this herd. Yeah, I don't think you need it, but when they hit, they hit. But the points you're spending on that melee unit could be better spent elsewhere. So, not a bad unit, not a great unit, not a waste of points, but not the most efficient way of spending your points is my overall review for the Squig herd. Troll mobs. Well, you're gonna see a lot of troll armies when I play my troll herd stuff coming up. So, 3 kinds of trolls: common, river, and stone. River gets +1 wound. Stone gets a bunch of extra rules. So stone gets +1 armor save, so 5 up instead of 6. Magic resistance 1, and that's a lot for extra 4 points over common troll. I can't see myself ever bringing a common troll, ever. I think for 4 points a model, getting magic resistance 1 and extra armor is probably worth it. Common trolls have their place. They're a little cheaper, but I would always buy a great weapon as well because they're already initiative. Well, common trolls are initiative too. I think the best troll is the stone troll with a great weapon, and just a lot of them. A really cool troll vomit ability automatically hits. They have their own regeneration. Now the regeneration is toned down. It used to be 4 up, but it's better now that it's 5 up probably. And the troll herd rules for the Arcane Journal. If you play the troll. I keep saying troll herd. Troll horde. You get to reroll that regeneration. So trolls are going to be pretty good. In particular, the troll horde army of infamy. They are stupid. And leadership 5 on the stone trolls, 4 for everybody else. So you have to stay close to your general. But once again, in the troll horde army coming up, there are ways around it. So stupidity is kind of rough, but I like the stats otherwise. 3 strength 7 attacks with a great weapon on a movement 6 model. They're not that expensive. They're not the cheapest. They're not that expensive. But built-in regeneration is pretty awesome. But okay, so review time, right? Do they really have a place in a competitive list? Probably not. Probably not. But they're fun and definitely usable. If you spend your money to buy trolls, you're gonna have a good time with them, and it's not a waste of money. And when I say probably not, you could definitely take trolls into your list, your competitive list, and the competitive list will still do fine. But if you're min-maxing every point to the best of the best, they're not going to fit in at that point. But still got a special place in my heart. Orc, boy, boar, boys. I love them. I love them. 15 points a model, toughness 4 cavalry, 3 up armor save with all the fixins by spears, and the chop is special rule, rerolling ones to wound, extra AP on the charge. They act like lances, but better because lances only work on the first round of combat. Cavalry spears you can use every time you charge. So when you do a fallback in good order, and you pursue, if you're falling back, if your opponent's falling back in order, and you pursue them with other cav with lances, they don't get to use their lances again. They only use their lances in the first round of combat. This is because the FAQ that came out, even though pursuing a unit counts as a charge, the FAQ said it counts as an ongoing combat as well. So that because of the FAQ, you can't use lances on the follow up, but cavalry spears you still can. So this squad with the extra AP and the reroll ones to wound on the charge, it still counts as a charge. The chop is rule, and the chop is rule just like offset that nerf that every other armor took. The chop is rule and the cavalry spear with the extra AP is the best follow-up cav in the game now. Well, there's better cav, but I mean the best follow-up cav for rules. Having that strength 4 AP1 boar attack, the army the nomadic wog gives these guys impact attacks as well. Though you can't turn off their impetuosity with that army of infamy, so they're probably better off not. But yeah, just keep putting a black orc character in this unit, or at least one nearby. This is a scary cav unit. I love these guys. They got counter charge, furious charge. Oh, and warband, rerolling your charges. I love boar boys. I have 20, and I think I need more. Boar boys are an excellent unit. Goblin Spider Rider mobs. Okay, I talked about this combo earlier on where better poison attacks with the spider banner, and then the thinking hat for a goblin character on a giant spider to join these guys, run around with these guys, keep them from charging when you don't want them to. These guys can reliably go hunt down war machines without getting caught off in a bad impetuous, pulling them in the wrong direction. I think Spider Riders now with new magic items from Arcane Journal are significantly better than they were before the Arcane Journal. In fact, I'll probably bring them as a mainstay. They might that combo might be a mainstay. There's one reason they might not always be there, and we'll get to that. I think it's the next thing we're going to talk about. It is because the Goblin Wolf Riders. Okay, these things are amazing. They are movement 9 fast cav that can spears or bows. They have reserve. Where is it? They have it right. Oh yeah, they can buy reserve move for 1 point. It's like one of my all-time favorite rules in this edition. So awesome unit. There's a downside. They're impetuous, which makes them and they're chariot runners, which is awesome. Makes them very hard to use because they're impetuous. But that new thinking hat, a goblin boss on a wolf joining a big old squad of these, can really put some hurt on your opponent. They can move 18 inches a turn without ever having to take a enemy sighted test because they move 9, don't have to charge because the impetuous turned off because I'm thinking that, and then they reserve move again 9. They can get right where you need them to be, and a good use for these guys are when they're not impetuous is getting around behind your opponent when you're in combat, and if they fall back in good order, they're running through your models and taking a bunch of wounds. I think the only reason why you haven't seen me do that a bunch of times already is because impetuous turns it off. The thinking hat just opens up a whole slew of things for the Orc and Goblin book. You think it's one single 25-point magic item that shouldn't have that big of an effect. It's going to change. That one item will change the way my Orcs and Goblins play fundamentally. I'm not even kidding. So Goblin Wolf Riders, which I thought were pretty damn good before, are going to be awesome now. But there's only one thinking hat. So the one on the spiders and one on the wolves. Probably the wolves. The spiders can do really cool poison damage. But the wolves they're way more mobile. So yeah, I'm gonna try them out both plenty, but either way, you're gonna see a lot of those on my list. Squig hopper mobs, you know what? I don't use these enough. The way random move works now, they move random move 3d6. You can hide so these things are very, very easy for your opponent to kill. Fireballs, bows, they tear them right down. But the way random move now works, you can hide them behind your units, and then random move like come out and around and wheel and stuff. Well, it's not the wheel; they're skirmishers, but move really, really well now and get where you need to be. I think these things are way better than they've ever been, and I haven't used them enough. But I think they're really good for trying to decide how I want to phrase this. I would love this unit for every army I play in the old world. I don't know if my orcs and goblins in particular need them to do the job that other things in the book also do. So a really cool, fun unit. I don't think you need them, but they can pull off some nasty tricks that your opponent might not see coming. Like your opponent can flee from a charge, and then you can have your squig hoppers go tear down that unit. By random moving into them with a good 3d6 roll to catch them. Yeah, they definitely have their uses. They need more play. They're skirmishers, they random move. They're 12 points a model with no save to think of. Like they just die. But if these things are going to take more um, mental power than most things in an Orcs and Goblin list. You have to be smart with these things, and they can do a lot of work for you. But it's like if you're a veteran, I can phrase this in a way that will make sense to you guys. If you're new to the game, this is probably not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. The most overpowered thing for high elves was great eagles. I played dozens and dozens of games with great eagles poorly to the point where people were emailing me saying, "Steve, stop bringing great eagles. You don't know how to do it." But I kept on doing it. I kept on doing it. I kept on doing it. I'm like, oh, it's all starting to click now. And then all of a sudden, like these great eagles are ridiculously overpowered. I'm controlling everything on the table because of these great eagles. And I feel like these squig hoppers could almost be that. They're not as fast as an old great eagle, but they could almost be that. I feel like if you put a lot of practice in the squig hoppers, they can be a huge piece to your army, to your overall plan. But the thing about orcs and goblins are they got so many pieces, so many things they can use. This is a scalpel, but you may not need one. You might just need another broadsword for orcs and goblins. That makes sense. Love them though. Orc boar chariots, 90 points for a thick chariot. Dirt cheap, except it's impetuous. So as long as you keep a black orc nearby, these things are a steal. They got first charge, D6 with 1 impact attacks. They got Tuskor charge for the extra strength and AP on the boars. They got Warband to re-roll their charge. No, these things are a steal for 90 points. And the Black Orc ones are even a little bit better, but I talked about more of them in the other review. Yeah, Black Boar Chariots? I only got 3 and probably not enough. Goblin Wolf Chariots. Okay. Dirt cheap Goblin Chariots. I've been playing them in squads of 3. They're only D3 plus 1 impact attacks each. But like a squad of 3 still has 9 more spear attacks, 9 more wolf attacks. They throw 18 attacks out there, plus 3d3 plus 3 impact hits. They actually, the amount of attacks and damage you do in this edition is significantly lower than it's ever been. Well, pretty much. But this can put out a crap ton of damage for 159 points. Yeah, these things are awesome. These things are awesome. But they're impetuous. So keep an eye on them. And they're warband. Snotling pump wagons. Okay. Everything I said about squig hoppers would apply to this, except for the pump wagon is only 2d6 move, not 3d6. If this pump wagon was 3d6 move, and I suspect at one point it was, then it would be overpowered. It would be busted for the way the game plays. But 35 points for toughness 4, 3 wounds, D3 plus 1 impact hits. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I actually just ordered 2 more, 3. I ordered a bunch more, a couple more. 35 points. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Is it if you're making an ultra tight competitive list and you have 35 points left and no magic items you need, this is where you spend that 35 points. But 6 Snotling attacks, and then a couple of impact attacks, but more of a fun pick. The Wyvern. It is the orc. dragon. Okay, so the wyvern is it's a monstrous creature, not a behemoth. So you're not getting AP on your stomps. There are worse things in the world. It's only 130 points. It's not that expensive. It is a couple less wounds than your counterparts dragons, but the same toughness when you got a orc character on it, right? Or even same toughness. It's gonna be toughness 6 in this thing. Um, Only 3 strength 6 attacks. Most dragons are gonna have 4, 5, 6. So your opponents are gonna spend another 100 points or so for their mount, for their big bad mount like this, but they're gaining a lot more for theirs. So if I do what you should never do and directly compare it to something else, this thing does seem a little overcosted. But then when I start making combos and magic items, this thing with a black orc character can get a lot of serious work done. We're going with 7 wounds, toughness 6, crap stomps. Sure, it's only D3 stomps, but the fly and everything. Yeah, it's dragon light. It itself isn't great, but what it brings into the battle, which is the black orc character, is what's great. So the wyvern itself isn't great, but there are some really cool combos. I'm gonna start. I ordered a new one already, a new wyvern. I repainted my old one. I'm gonna start bringing wyverns more to show off some combos. So stay tuned for battle reports as I try some combos. In fact, in the comments below, I would love to see your combo for black orc character on a wyvern. What's your, especially with the new magic items? I talked about that in another video. So like I said, I'm gonna probably put the video first. So yeah, there's some combos there. I want to know what your opinion is on how you want to run your wyvern. The Arachnarok spider. It's just overcosted. It's cool. Its stats are great. It's got no AP on its attacks. Its stomp does. The Spider Circlobber, I don't really see ever really bringing. I don't think I would ever put a wizard on this anymore. It's 310 points. I think it's at least 50 points overcosted, right? This thing's not worth 310. Like, it's not bad. I'm not saying this thing's useless. I think its rules are good, its stats are good, everything what it does to the game is good. It's a good unit, just overcosted. But you do get 8 short bow attacks, and you get 8 spear attacks, and you get 6 strength 5 attack. 6 strength 5 attacks from the spider itself. One of them can be a venom surge attack, which is D6 damage with strikes first. Like everything about it is kind of cool. It's just 310 points. I don't know where they came up with that. I don't know where that came from. Mangler squigs. Here's the other problem. This thing could go up 50 points. That's the. Here's the exact opposite problem. The Mangler squig needs to go up in points. Now, okay, everything I was telling you about the squig hoppers, take all of that, apply it to the Mangler squig, because the Mangler squig does the exact same job, but way better. The only downside is the Mangler squig is. I have to check this actually. Okay. The downside of the Mangler squig is he's a large target, so you can't hide him behind units and wrap around. But with toughness 5 and 4 wounds, maybe you don't have to. So that's the thing about the squig hopper thing. You can do really well with it, but the Mangler squig does the same job but better and can fight really well. D6 strength 6 AP2 killing blow attacks, and then how many stomps it got? D3 stomps, and it's a behemoth, and it's gonna get D6 impact attacks. Why is this thing only 95 points? This thing is undercosted about 50 points. These things are auto includes. I remember I said it. Well, I wasn't gonna say that. This would be competitively. This has got to be one of the auto includes. This thing can go up 50 more. This thing, you make this 145, make this thing 150 points, and I'm still gonna bring it every game. 2, in fact. That's how you can tell something's overpowered or undercosted. I would still competitively bring 2 in my list if they were 150 points apiece, and they're only 95 freaking points. Their impact hits are AP3. Their melee is AP2 killing blow. Their stomps are AP2. It has random movement. It's so freaking good. Nothing else I can say. So freaking good. Giants. Giants have never been better. 200 points. Strength up to 6. Shove something down your pants. Hey, take it easy. It's one of the rules. 200 points for Unbreakable. Toughness 6. D6 stomps. Giants are Most people don't catch this, but it says right here under Behemoth. You know what? I was about to make a joke that I probably shouldn't do. I was gonna make the joke where we have a rule: if your army can bring a giant, you must bring a giant. So the giant is it's in invisible ink right next to Behemoth. Must bring if able to. Yeah, no, Giants 200 points. They've never been better. They've been a meme pick for years. They've been terrible for years, and all of a sudden now they're amazing. Yeah, Giants are another thing that I can see being kind of an auto include in the competitive list. The problem is if I got to cut something, a giant or manglers, I'm gonna cut the giant before I cut the manglers. But giants, oh, so good. By giants. Goblin bolt throwers, 45 points. It's a bolt thrower. You should have two in your list every time. Goblin Doom Diver catapults. Okay, it's a stone thrower. Now there is another one in the book as well, the actual rock lobber. But this is so it the Doom Diver and the rock lobber are the same thing. The Doom Diver costs 20 more points than the rock lobber, but gets to redirect the template D6 or D3. I think it's D3 now. So 20 points to redirect it. I do it all day long. Doom Divers are damn good for 95 points. It's just another piece of artillery. It's a stone thrower. You can bring a lot of artillery with Orcs and Goblins, and why not? Magic items. I want to get to closing thoughts, and I'm aiming for about an hour. And I'm gonna make it. Okay, so all of the magic weapons, except for the Wallop as one hit wonder, that doesn't really count. I just can't see ever bringing any of the magic items over a great weapon because of the chop is rule. That's disappointing. Trollhide trousers. Plus one armor save, five regeneration, common, 40 points. Use it, bring it all the time. The big red raggedy banner plus one weapon skill plus one combat result, 50 points. That's a good banner. Wah banner plus three to your maximum charge range and add D3 to charge. Remember, almost everything you have is in a warband. Like you throw that on boar boys, they're getting their charge. They're just getting their charge. When I roll the dice, I know. Banner of Butcher gives plus one strength when you charge. Not bad. That might actually even be better when that's going to work with the impact hits from the pneumatic wah. And then yeah, the Ghost Windy Banner. Who cares? The big boss at. Oh, the rest of these items are just they're just items, stuff you would expect. Nothing really to write home about magic items. Some good, some bad. Nothing to really talk about. Overall closing thoughts. Orcs and Goblins, I think they're in a fantastic spot. If they had a dragon, a proper dragon, they would be, I would say, probably top of the meta everywhere. Like, that's the only thing holding them back. I think they have damn good infantry. The war band rule on everything is just awesome. Their black orcs are awesome. Their black orc characters are awesome. I love all their war machines are awesome. Their toughness 5 wizards are awesome. Awesome. I have never loved Orcs and Goblins more in this edition than any other edition. I enjoyed them in fifth a lot, but we're in effectively ninth edition technically, right? So that's what 4 editions ago, 5 editions ago. They have never felt more right. I don't miss animosity. I thought I would, even though it was a negative rule. They still feel like orcs. I think across the board, having that warband rule and impetuous across the board does still have the proper feel for me, the proper theme for me, which I was stoked for. So I thought maybe it wouldn't feel like orcs anymore. So they feel right, they play right. I'm loving where they play. The frenzy banner that's in the Arcane Journal, throw them on some black orcs. I can't wait to play 3 attack a piece, great weapon black orcs. Like no, I'm excited for this book. And again, if they had a dragon, one of my favorite armies. And you know what? For today, my favorite army, very powerful book. Lists. I think competitively, if I were to make a list right now, I'd have a black orc on a wyvern. I'd have a big block of black orcs, probably 18, with a frenzy banner, with great weapons on foot. I'd bring a black orc battle center bearer and a big block of boar boys. I would bring chariots and the thinking hat on a goblin boss on a giant wolf to join probably 10, a big squad of wolf riders. And if I had the points, I'd probably buy another wyvern for my shaman. I'm not sure if I will or not. Shaman on foot is probably fine. Shaman on board chariot is even better. I don't have one converted up. Yeah. And then at least 2 goblin bolt throwers. And then whatever points I have left over, I spend on war machines and a skirmishing unit of vegans or something like that. Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. Fun army. Let me know what you think about this. What thoughts did you have when you first read the orcs to now? What's changed for you? I actually don't remember what changed for me. So you guys can tell me in the comments. Hey, Steve, you said this last time. I at the time I believed that. This time I'm really liking orcs and goblins. Though I do, if I remember correctly, I did say back right away that orcs look like really really good this edition. I think I said that. I'm pretty sure I said that. Either way, they still do. And there's my orcs and goblins. What two? Wait. Okay, so this is at the time I'm recording this. About 2.5 months ago, the game came out. So this is my we'll call it my 3 month in orc and goblin tribe review. See you the next one. Happy wargaming.